We call it people technology.
インテル入ってる。
So 179 is what the Punjab Kings have managed after KL Rahul managed his highest score of this season against a team he loves batting against. He loves batting against his former side in Bangalore. Chris Gayle seemed to enjoy batting against his former side as well. We look back at that innings that had many moments and it had its ebbs and flows, much like an ODI innings almost, with Ian Bishop and Sanjay Manjrekar on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Time Out, powered by Intel. What kind of score is 179, Sanjay?
Oh, I thought I would get the benefit of listening to Bish first because it's
I
won this.
know Bish well, and Bish would have loved to. He would have deferred this to you had I asked him. So I saved him.
No, not necessarily. I could have gone on that one.
Okay, just looking at the way the last over was bowled by Harshal Patel, he was getting the slower ball going. It was still holding into the pitch. So let's assume it's not changed too much. But obviously, as we go late into the night, the ball will start coming onto the bat a little more. So, when you look at Chris Gayle's innings and K. Rao's class, effort, you would think the team has got to 200 runs because Gale was at 190 strike rate and Rahul finished with 160. But unfortunately, nobody else really got into their innings. So if you have RCB where more batsmen contribute, you might see them getting to this target. So conditions remain the key. My view, as they are sort of using the Indian rope trick on the outfield to suggest that there could be a little bit of dew. My overall, just looking at that particular innings, I got the impression I was looking at a high scoring pitch today. The batting conditions looked good for a pretty big score. So you might think just about par or maybe slightly under par.
I mean, when Chris Gayle got out, Bish, they're 99 in the 11th over. You think that if you got 100 in the first 10, 11 overs, you're looking good for 200 with enough wickets in hand. So keeping that in mind, you go with Sanjay. Would Bangalore say, okay, 179 is not bad? Or would Punjab say, we've done well to get to 179?
No, Punjab will be disappointed that they didn't get to at least 190, 200. There's no doubt about that. But when they lost, 3 wickets in about 3 or 4 overs with Gale, Puran, and Deepak Hooda going, at one point I thought they'll struggle to get to 150 here if they're not careful. Rahul played brilliantly. That's the KL Rahul that you want to see quite often. So in assessing the pitch, providing there's not a great deal of view, it's a total that Kings 11 can fight with. But I still think that you'll ask the captains at the end and they'll say they were short by maybe 40 runs or so.
All right. Now it looked like this is an innings and a team so heavily dependent on KL Rahul, who's been at the receiving end of all sorts of comments in the media. Some of it he likes, most of it he sort of doesn't like. But Sanjay Manjrekar, 91 of 57. What kind of innings was that for you today?
Fantastic effort. Love the fact that he stayed there till the end and had the shots. That is the greatness of K. Rahul. You never see him going at a strike rate of 119, where he's tried to go at a higher strike rate, but just not connecting. We see a lot of batsmen struggling to get a move on. You don't see that with KL Rahul. So every big shot that he attempted, he connected. But if Punjab Kings find themselves again at the losing end of the stick, after the game is finished, then it's going to be another KL Rahul effort with the intention that he's going to anchor the innings and see that, they put up enough runs on the board. And if the runs are still not good enough, and if they lose yet another game, then they've got to look at their batting order and the overall, approach, because KL Rahul played a superb innings. You can't deny that fact.
Is this concept of consolidation relevant in T20, Bish, where you're looking good till about 12 or 13 overs and then 2 or 3 wickets fall and suddenly a batsman like KL Rahul is worried about the team being bowled out for, your 150s and has to bat a little differently for just a 3 or 4 over spell. Whereas, we've learned from the West Indies, we've learned from the Mumbai Indians that you've got to just go hard, use up all your resources. It's perfectly fine. But what you saw today from KL Rahul, was that the right balance?
I thought he played well. I thought he played very well. The first 3 or 4 overs or so was a touch slow, to be fair, and then Chris Gayle took 20 off the 6th over of the innings. And for a while, when Chris was there, KL Rahul was prepared to sit back. A couple of things struck me. There are a couple of drives he played over, I think, mid-off that went for 4. And in times past, I remember the Wankhede when he played a 60 or 50 odd balls, he was trying to hit those around the ground and stroking them. So he was a little freer. Then he saw free. You can't afford to decelerate, to your point. You can't afford to decelerate too much in this format and over consolidate for too long if you've lost some wickets. But he accelerated quite nicely towards the end, and he got good support as well at the back end. So I don't think that you can fault KL Rahul. Finishing with a strike rate of 160, I thought was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, Raunak, just want to quickly add on this. Whatever if Punjab Kings managed to lose this one, you can't be saying KL Rahul should have done more. If Chris Gayle can go at a strike rate of 190, I mean, he finished with 160, which is a fantastic strike rate. If Rahul had played the entire innings, remained not out of 90 with a strike rate of 125, maybe then you could ask questions. But let's wait for the result of the game, and if we have a familiar result like Punjab Kings have seen for the last 3-4 years, then KL Rahul is a huge factor in this batting line of Punjab Kings. And then, we might look at certain other ways to go about batting and winning games rather than seeing another, KL Rahul brilliant performance, because finally the team result is going to be important. So let's wait and see, and we'll see how the batting conditions are.
Sure, all appreciation for KL Rahul at our halftime show, but he's just a cricketer and a story that just provokes so much conversation. So we can't help but have it almost every time, whether he gets the runs or not. But those were 46 very enjoyable runs from Chris Gayle, Bish, and not almost the vintage Chris Gayle fashion where he doesn't need 10 or 11 or 12 balls to get his eye in. This was proper Chris Gayle power hitting.
Yeah, good to see that spark from Chris. The rate at which he scored, and he picks his moments. We've always known him to be a smart cricketer. Those of us, Sanjay, yourself, who've watched him over the years, he chooses his moments. Where the game kind of shifted, I thought, on the other side to me was good captaincy, but good execution by Daniel Sams to use the short ball. And I think it was asking Chris to hit to the bigger side of the ground as well, as I remember going back and thinking about it. And it's a delivery that a lot of teams have talked about, bowling to Gayle, and Sam's got it spot on. And then with Nicholas Pooran, he's been out to the short ball a couple of times this season. And then again, Jameson getting that one to bounce on him. So he has a problem of not only form, but teams are starting to look at, hey, the short ball, the quick bowler against Nicholas Pooran is something that he is being challenged with. But Gayle played quite a nice innings, and I think he would have wanted, obviously, to kick on further.
Yeah, Sanjay, Chris Gayle?
I have a lot of time for Chris Gayle. He would be in my, IPL team all the time, because, the thing with Chris Gayle is he's got this persona we all know. He shows that he's having fun and he tries to enjoy the game and stuff. But when he's out there batting, he's got great pride as a batsman. He wants to make a contribution. He wants to show that he's actually the universe boss. But the thing to like about Chris Gayle is on those occasions when he's struggling, you'll never see him play an innings where he's dug a deep hole for his team. You'll always see him somehow try and find a way to either start dominating and taking his team forward, or he's gone. So Chris Gayle is somebody that I'll never worry about, because, once you get to a certain age and when you're a big ticket player, you've seen some players taking too much time, consuming a lot of ball because they feel entitled to do that, and then get themselves into a hole that they can't come out of. Chris Gayle very rarely has done that in his long career.
Yeah, what I've also liked your thoughts on, Sanjay, as the batsman. We've seen, as you get older as a batsman, Chris Gayle, 41 now, you tend to take a single of the fast bowler and pick and choose your bowlers. It's also part of, I guess, the longevity. Chris Gayle has no problem taking on Kyle Jameson. He's happy to take on the pace even at this stage of his career, and doesn't look out of his depth at all while he's doing so. Sanjay?
That's for Sanjay.
No.
That's for you, Sanjay, the batsman. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's why there's so much to like about Chris Gayle. And let's wait for the result of this game, and maybe I
Sure.
might have a suggestion of a rejig of that Punjab Kings batting order if they don't lose this one, because Chris Gayle, and he showed us today that there's still a lot of batting, dangerous batting intact in that aging body of his, and I guess he could maybe bat at a better position, but we'll just wait and see how this match goes.
Yeah, I had the privilege of having a quick interview with Chris Gayle recently about that 175, the T20 world record. And his first comments when I asked him for his memories included, I hope I can beat that someday. So he still doesn't think he's in the end of his career. He's still back. We don't think 175 is looking likely in any T20 cricket anywhere. But Chris Gale's still keen to play on for as long as it takes for him to break that record. So just tells you something. But anyway, Bish, if the world was in a better place and if this distancing protocols weren't in place, you would want to give Nicholas Puran a bit of a hug right now, wouldn't you? Or at least put an arm around him.
Yeah, it's a tough time. I think he'll have to introspect, and he will be the only one who knows what the reasons are for this poor run of form. These ducks all lined up in a row. But at age 25, we've seen, Sanjay knows as well, that cricketers will go through periods where they might be dropped. He might be dropped for the next match, and you wouldn't blame Kings 11 or Punjab Kings. I keep saying Kings 11. Punjab Kings,
Sure.
if they decide Milan should come in for that next game. But whatever happens, Puran has to look at this as a learning opportunity and come out on the other side whenever that other side is a better player. These are things that make you.
Sanjay, what would you do if you were in the franchise's position? Would you give him some time off, knowing what he's going through? You could see it almost visibly on his face now. Or would you say, no, just keep going, keep going. We'll back you.
Keep going with the same batting order, the same formula. Might be, because he looked really down in the dumps. Saw him in the dugout sitting there, and the way he got out today, that's not going to infuse any confidence in his already, dropped to seriously low levels of confidence. So what if I'm out there to just make sure that Nicholas Puran is my big ticket player, he's my game changer, I'm going to back him no matter what. I won't keep batting him in that same situation, because what has been the constant with Puran is that he's always come into bat well past the 6 overs have been done, and when the bowlers are taking the pace off, the field is spread out. It's never easy for somebody who's out of form to come and bat in that situation. So why not one final try of getting Puran to bat at a different position, maybe in the top 3, and then see how he goes? Because then you're looking at the ball coming onto the bat, you just see 2 fielders outside the circle. And today there was an opportunity, that Punjab Kings had. Maybe next game they could do that before finally Nicholas Puran, because David Malan is another exciting option they have.
Yep. They have the resources. They could go Malan. They could bring back Fabian Allen, who's not had much of a hit. But let's keep an eye out on how the Nicholas Puran story evolves for this year's IPL. One story I'd like a quick comment on, Sanjay, is Yuzvendra Chahal bowled his 4 overs. It looked like that wicket meant the world to him. And perhaps after the first 2 overs of beating that he took, we can almost understand why.
I must apologize in the pre-match show when I said it's not so much about how he's bowled, more about Virat Kohli having the option, which is true in a way. But, I just looked at his numbers as well. He hasn't had the best IPL, and the last few years, a couple of years have been difficult. Visible change in the way he's bowled, not dramatic changes, maybe, lines outside the off-spin that he used to bowl, which I felt were wicket-taking lines when the batsmen were going after him and he pushed one, wide outside the off-spin. So that worked then. But his main delivery always right through his career have been the ball in the stump. So I don't think he's bowling badly. Just the returns aren't coming enough. And the other fact, or maybe that is also playing on his mind, is some of the other leg spinners seem to get more out of the pitches and, showing greater returns. Rahul Chahar, for example.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that, Bish, and I'd love to ask you, someone objectively and someone who follows a lot of Indian cricket and IPL cricket. Virat Kohli actually dropped Chahal in the England series halfway through and played Rahul Chahar. You're now looking at what I'm sure a lot of Indian fans are looking at as to who's going better in a big year, in a T20 World Cup year, Chahar versus Chahal. And just your thoughts on, how each of those spinners, those leg spinners is sort of evolving in this year's IPL.
Raul Chahar started the season quite nicely last year, and then I think they left him out. Mumbai Indians left him out coming to the final. So look, you look at form. You really have to look at form, weight up with experience. If Chahal, let's hypothetically say he's not getting any wickets at all come the duration of the IPL, then certainly Chahal comes into the picture. If Chahal is so outstanding, but Chahal, it was good of him to get some success tonight. Thankfully, Chris Gayle was gone, so he had a little bit of breathing space. His experience is invaluable, so that's a weighing up job. I really do like what Chahal can give you, so he must be in the picture somewhere.
All right. Now the innings is already underway. The chase. Riley Meredith has new ball in hand. Thankfully for him, somewhere other than the Wankhede Stadium. And Prabh Simran Singh has the gloves in hand. So KL Rahul with his orange cap is enjoying some time out in the field. Let's see how that goes. We'll pick up the conversation with Ian Bishop and Sanjay Manjrekar at the end of it all on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Time Out, powered by Intel. Of course, you can catch all Vivo IPL highlights and live action on Disney Plus Hotstar. And the Intel Fastest Fan First contest is still very much up and running. So just head over to the ESPN Cricket Info Facebook page if you fancy winning some prizes by answering a few simple questions. And as we leave you, of course, let's never forget, never let our guard down, mask up in public, follow social distancing and self-sanitizing protocols, in particular for our viewers in India this. And if you are eligible, please do take your vaccine as soon as possible. We'll pick up the conversation on the Bangalore-Punjab game in a couple hours from now. So see you then.
We call it people technology.
インテル入ってる。